Hey team, welcome back to the show. Today it is Coach Natalie and I talking through what you can learn from contest prep, specifically getting into Natalie's journey to the stage. So, for context, I don't think you've announced it. I've been waiting out for the announcement. I don't think you've officially announced this, but you've
Yes.
entered. What's that?
Made a really funny reel on social media.
Really?
Yeah.
About about Anyways, Natalie's entering contest prep. I'm actually not sure what reel you're talking about, but I'll look later.
Since you stopped following me, I'm
And
on
since I unfollowed you, I don't know what you're talking about. But I think this will be a fun episode because, well, most of our listeners aren't competing. They are chasing next level physique results. And there's a lot to learn from how you as a coach approach prep that could carry over to even someone more gym pop getting the results they want with their own physique and just leveling up in their physique. And a lot of times, like these same principles apply. It's just the amount of time that we've been doing things. So I just want to dig into kind of mindset, nutrition, training, strategy, kind of how it applies to your fat loss phase for this contest prep. Again, competing in the future, and how clients might be able to apply it to their own fat loss or recomp phase. Sound good?
does.
Cool. All right. I imagine this will cover most of our personal updates. I don't really feel like talking about myself today, so let's get into it.
I
Starting by,
announced that I have
oh
been
no,
under this week, and that's why I sound this way.
okay. You don't really sound that different. I think we're good. A little
Oh,
sniffly.
okay. I think I
Uh,
sound stuffy. And I've had like the most calls this week in a while. I'm like, of course.
Same. Yeah, that's
But
how it
other than
goes.
yeah.
And you've been deloading training as well, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and also like better to be sick now than later in prep. So I'm actually fine with it. It's like, God, wouldn't that be miserable? But but for right now, it's like I feel pretty good otherwise. Like if that even at all makes sense. And I have been deloading a little bit with upper body with what I have going on with like my shoulder and elbows, but that's been coming along really nicely as well. And
Yeah.
so it's like I haven't had to miss upper body yet this week. Like I trained on Tuesday. I missed yesterday, which was supposed to be quads. But even then, it's like I feel like my shoulder and my elbows like literally never get a break because even on a leg day, it's like you're just loading plates all the
Oh
time,
yeah.
So it was actually like, to be honest, like shoulders feeling a lot better in the last few days anyway. So
Hell
even
yeah.
if I don't want to have to miss my pole session tomorrow, but if I do, I know there's a little bit of a silver lining there, like probably not the worst thing in the world right now. Um,
For yeah, the elbow and the shoulder, I would imagine.
yeah, so that's coming along though. I'm encouraged. Coming out the other
Good.
end.
I would say a push session. I'm more bummed to miss than a pull session.
Really? I mean, to be
I
honest, I would probably because I usually train pull on Fridays and push on Saturdays. If I end up having to miss tomorrow, knowing me, I'll probably do pull on Saturday and miss push, and then just go to legs on Sunday. Um,
that
yeah,
doesn't surprise me laterally
I
in the
know.
slightest. That hence the name. All right. So setting the stage for your journey to stage. Are you drinking a Canada Dry right now? Are you drinking?
Zero sugar, baby.
Hell yeah. All right.
Nectar of the gods.
That's what they say, the nectar of the Canadian gods. Um, when did you decide to commit to this contest prep? And what made you feel ready?
So 2 years ago, I told Dom I wanted to compete. So I don't know if that's what you mean, or like if you mean like when I like okay, yeah, it's go time kind of
I
thing.
would, yeah, the actual for this fat loss phase specifically.
Um, we knew this was just like the next phase kind of
Hmm.
thing.
Hmm.
Um, my coach Dom has been pretty close hold with calendars this whole time. Like he doesn't really project out like, and then we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do
Keep your
this.
calendars close to your pocket, they say.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was honestly this whole experience has been like so much fun and so cool because I knew this was a really big goal 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And so I just sort of like told him what I was thinking and what I wanted, and then just gave him the wheel.
Yeah.
So I was like, this is what I want to do, and like I want to do it at a high level. So like you take that and run with it. And I think what gets glamorized about like bodybuilding and contest prep is the prep part. And so when we say contest prep, we mean like the diet to get you lean for stage. And I think that gets a lot of attention, and that's what like intrigues a lot of people. Because it's a really cool process to watch someone go through and like watch their body change and transform, and then like they end up shredded and like crazy looking. Um, but it's also the process that gets rushed, and like people just want to cut straight to that. It's like, oh, like I want to get on stage, like when can I prep kind of thing. So I wasn't like that at all, and I was just like, hey, this is my goal, this is what I want to do. I want to do it at a high level, take the wheel. And so I had a lot of people asking me all along, like, hey, well, when are you going to prep? When are you going to start prep? I was like, I don't know. Like, whenever Dom says it's go time, it'll be go time. And so he said it like 2 weeks ago. He said it was go time. So we're going.
So you guys have been ready for a while, or you've been
Yeah.
ready for a while to, and I know we've had the like, I might start prep soon. I'm not sure, but it seems like you've really been ready whenever for a good bit. But there's been a lot of time prior to this, and not just like we're 2 years in, 2 years in since you told Dom that you wanted to compete in the future, and basically I've been prepping for that, preparing for that, building the entire time. Um, and then of course like all the years before that as well. But I think that's a very important point also. You're right. A lot of people do just like it doesn't come up as much anymore. I feel like in like 2019, 2020, a lot of people would like apply for coaching, hop on the initial call, and a lot of people wanted to do a contest prep just as a way to like get back in shape. Like, I hate where I'm at and I want to do a prep. It's like, dude, no, this is a terrible idea.
See it
Um,
a lot. I know that we don't really hang out like on the TikTok space, but like I'm like all over bodybuilding TikTok, and you still see it a lot there.
really.
Like it's surprising because like I definitely don't see it on Instagram, because just by nature of like the niche that we're in, and like the circle that we have, and like all our mutual coach friends, and I don't see it on the Instagram side of things, but I see it all over TikTok, where it's still like people just like hiring a coach to prep them, and not enough. Like obviously we know that a reputable coach who knows a thing or two is going to be like, slow down. Like hold your horses. Let's get a closer look here, before like I say yes to this, and like let's make sure you're in a good position to prep. But yeah, I see that all the time, and it's like there's some horror stories. People that like have not been, and I think we'll get into this actually, but people just that have not been living this life or about this life. Maybe they've never even done a like formal calorie deficit, where
Mhm.
they're intentionally trying to like lean out, lose weight or anything like that. Maybe they like don't even have a ton of training experience. And now all of a sudden, like, I'm ready to prep. And it's like, wow. It is
And I
alive.
mean, what's that?
It's alive and well, unfortunately.
Huh. Well, I am fortunately not on TikTok hardly ever. I'll be honest with you. I think like once every 6 weeks, I log into TikTok and I see Natalie Lewis has messaged sent you like the number goes up so much more every time. It's like over 20 now, I think. And when I see that number, it's like, oh my God, I'm not ready to deal with this right now. So I am sorry that I
All
haven't read all these.
I said he was hilarious, though. You
I'm
should.
sure they are hilarious. I feel the same thing. Like my text, these are just like spam texts, but my texts are like 60 right now, which also drives me crazy. Or just like things like that. When you're like your DMs and it's like you have like 15 and it's like, all right, I'm just going to deal with this later. Anyways,
Yeah.
let's talk through what is your goal with this prep? Is it more about the experience? I just want to continue to level up my own physique. I want to win. I want to go to the Olympia, get sponsored. What's the goal here?
I'm gonna be the next Chris Bumstead. I just figured
I
it.
love that goal, honestly. I would be stoked if you were.
I would too. Get surprised. Um,
Lots of changes coming up for Natalie.
no, this is a really good question, because honestly, I think what kind of kicked this off, and this is, I was reflecting on this when I got your outline earlier. Um, but I remember a few years ago, someone asked me if I would ever consider bodybuilding, like stepping on stage competing, and I was like, no way. And I said, like, I love this so much. Like, I love this process. I love the life, but like, I have worked way too hard on my relationship with food to
Hmm.
jeopardize
Yeah.
it. At some point, that just like kind of started to change. Because I feel like
Hmm.
because my relationship with food was in such a good place, it's been in a good place now for a really long time. So I kind
Hmm.
of like got over that. And then, of course, the more that I was like learning about bodybuilding, following the sport, the more I like, and I'm a competitive person by nature, the more I was sort of like drawn to it. And I was like, oh no, like I think I could do this. But then I did a photo shoot with you back in 2022, so three
We
years ago.
didn't do a photo shoot together, to be clear. I coached her through a photo shoot.
Yeah, and I loved the process so much. Like the training, the nutrition, everything. I was like, this is great. Like I didn't want to stop dieting, not because like
Mm.
not because I just like wanted to diet, but because like I just wanted to take it far. Like I just wanted to push myself and like see like how far I could get, how hard I could go. Like I wanted to work for it. And then so I enjoyed all of that. And then when I got to the actual photo shoot, I ended up having like the worst time. Like I felt, and that had nothing to do with the process that we did. Like that was great. But when I got to the shoot day, like I didn't have a great photographer, and that's a different conversation. But I felt just so awkward. Like I didn't know what to do with my body. And I also felt like the most frustrating thing for me was that I didn't feel like I could express the physique that I had worked so hard for. And
Yeah.
that was frustrating. I was like,
Hmm.
I literally dieted for like 6 months. And like I feel like I hate all of these photos. And you know that a lot of that was also like very much a mindset issue also. Um but like I just didn't feel like I could express like what the physique that I'd worked so hard for, and that was frustrating, especially coming from like a dance background where I I've been on stage. Like I used to perform. Like this it wasn't that. It was just like there's something about these like static poses, of just like standing there. It's one thing to stand up on stage and like learn a routine and move through it because it's like very active, but it's another when it's like, no, we're really just looking at your body.
Right.
It was so uncomfortable, and like I think that discomfort really came through in those photos. And so as a result, it's like I didn't like any of the photos. And I think it also like just every time I look at the photos, it gave me like such a visceral reaction to like taking me back to that place in time, that moment in time where I felt so uncomfortable. And so that actually started to get me into like wanting to learn how to pose. Because I was like, well, there's got to be something to this. Like, I'm gonna do this again someday. At that point, I was like, I'm gonna do another photo shoot at some point, and like I'm gonna do this way differently and way better. And then also I go to a bodybuilding gym. So a lot of people, and I was like really lean at the time, and a lot of people were asking like, "Oh, are you in prep? Are you like when's your show?" And I was like, "No, no, no, I don't compete, And they're like, "Why are you doing this?" I was like, yeah, I was like pushing really, really hard. So I just kind of like got the bug in my ear at that point, like, well, maybe I should. But yeah, I really just wanted to get into posing and like how cool it would be to like actually know how to express my body better. Um and so that was kind of when I started really thinking about it. And then I guess it was like my shoot was like November 2022, so I guess it was by like July 2023 that I hired Dom.
Wild has been that long ago, honestly.
I know.
Time flies. Yeah. It's kind of like your redemption arc. Not
It
redemption
is.
arc, but
So,
it's
yeah. So, what I want out of this, sorry, I got sidetracked, but your
no, it's
question is
okay.
like hoping to get out of this. First and foremost, I want to enjoy the process, and I'm not worried about that because I know I will, because I love the process. I live the process. And I'm excited to learn more through the process because, like, every time that you diet, like there are different approaches, you learn something new. It is a redemption arc, and my biggest goal for actual show day is have fun. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but like that is what I was just so unable to do like 3 years ago. It was so not fun. And I was so mad at myself for allowing it to not be. Like I robbed myself of the enjoyment. And so a lot of it has really been a lot of mindset work over the last couple years about, like this is I'm gonna like I know I'm gonna bring my best. I'm not even worried about that. I know I'm gonna execute at a high level, but I think for me it will be challenging to like enjoy actual show day because I think you know this, but I'm a former musician and like I used to play professionally, and it was a very similar thing where like I loved all the rehearsals. And I just like never really liked the performance. It's just like that's not why I got it, why I was into it. Like it was just part of the deal. So like I had to perform and like it was fine. And of course there were some concerts that like were very special and meaningful, but it was kind of the same thing. And I just started like picking up on some of these patterns in myself. And I'm like, I don't like I want to be able to like enjoy the day and everything that that whole like I want to enjoy everything I worked for. And I'm really bad at that.
What
Yeah, like
you?
I get so into the process of anything. I'm like, I've got to do this, I've got to do it at a high level, I've got to like compete. I'm like, and then that push comes to shove and the actual thing comes up and it's like, oh, like we're here now. And I want to be present and I want to enjoy it. Um I want to like be able to express like my femininity. That's why I really love the figure division. I love like the muscle density of that division.
Mhm.
And like the lines and the shapes, but then also kind of like as a vehicle for like expressing that femininity and feminine strength. Like I want to feel that and experience that. Um and of course I really just want to bring my best, but I know I will cuz
Absolutely.
I'm going to try my best.
No
So
one's gonna be more prepared.
yeah. Yeah. I want to honestly just like enjoy like this whole process. And this is going to be like the cheesiest thing I've ever said, possibly, but I just keep thinking how excited I am to like meet her, like the person that I become through this process because the way that like you have to level up and the things that I know I'm going to learn about myself, the challenges I'm going to have to overcome, like I can't wait to see who I am on the other side of that.
It sounds like her is Chris Bumstead.
Exactly. Of the figure division.
No, I love that. That is, I don't, I have heard like bits and pieces of that, but I've never heard you talk about in that depth, like what a vessel for personal growth it is for you. I really like that though. And of course, you have been very dedicated to it. Again, like definitely are going to be lack of preparation isn't going to be an issue, as is the usual for you. But that's really cool. I've never heard you talk about to that depth again, like how much of a vessel for growth it is. Now, this might not be something you know, but do you have an idea of the current timeline for this prep?
No, the only thing I've talked about with Dom was, I've asked him a few times before, prior to getting into prep, hey, do you have like just a ballpark? Because, we're coming up on summer and it's like, if I'm not going to be prepping, if I'm not going to be competing, like I might want to, I don't know, go somewhere or like do something. And he was like, yeah, I'm thinking like August. And so then
Okay.
I kind of got August in my mind for a show. And it's like, okay. And so for the listeners that might not know, like there are so many bodybuilding shows everywhere, every weekend, all the time. So it's not like, oh man, there's only one show and like if I'm not ready or I miss it, it's like, no, like, and I'm willing to travel. I don't want to fly across the country or anything like that, but like I have a car. It's like if I have to drive a few hours somewhere, that's fine. To
Right.
a like Pennsylvania show or something like that. That's okay. But last we spoke, it was like August sometime.
Okay.
And then I kind of counted out the weeks just out of curiosity. And when I started prep, the end of August would be like 16 weeks. And you hear most people are kind of in a anywhere from like 12 to 20 week prep depending on where they are, like, where they're starting their starting point for prep. And I remember thinking, um like I'm watching these weeks fly by and like I still hadn't started prep and I was like, what is this gonna happen? Like I have so much to lose. I'm like 155, and I remember like our photo shoot where I was the lightest I got, I think was like 125. Um
All right, let's be real. Natalie is actually 4'10". She weighs
I
109
love
pounds right now. This charade needs to end.
yeah. Um no, but I was thinking like I know that I have a lot more muscle now than I did then. And
Right.
we're also not going like so for women's divisions, we don't have weight caps or anything like that. So there's no weight associated with what I need to lose, quote. It's more like we're going for a look. But the last time I got really lean was 3 years ago. So it's hard to ignore what I weighed then. So I'm gonna have to get, even though I have more muscle now, I'm gonna have to get much leaner than I was. So in
Yeah.
my mind, I probably need to get down to like 125. So I'm like, dude, how are we gonna take this much off? And I finally said something to Dom about it. He was like, bro, like we only have to lose like 15 pounds. And I was like, what? Sweet, I can do that. Okay. So that sort of like changed things. Um,
I'm interested to see what that number actually ends up being. 15 still? You're very lean, but 15 still just does not seem like very much.
I still think it needs to be more than 15 personally. Um, I think my upper body is quite lean.
Yeah.
And I think I hold my body fat more like in my belly, like my midsection.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think it's going to be more than 15 personally, but it's also really interesting because it's wild like how the body changes, and it already is. Like we're like 2.5 weeks in, and there have actually already been like so many changes. And I'm like,
Really.
this is wild. Like, so what I will say is that Dom has set me up incredibly well for this prep. And
Talk us
that's
through that because that kind of is relevant to the next point I wanted to make, but let's just get into that here. Like, what do you feel like y'all did to prepare, like, set you up well for this prep?
yeah, I mean, I honestly think it was just all the time spent not dieting. um I did have to do a gut health phase about a year ago, which honestly was probably an important thing to get right because if the gut's not working, like you're not gonna build muscle optimally, your body's not gonna respond. So that was an important part. We were really intentional about like pushing and pulling, so like I was like going balls to the wall, with my training. And like food was he was starting to get aggressive with food too. And the cool thing about the body is that it adapts. So like as you gain weight through a building phase, I mean this sounds really obvious, right? But you're getting heavier. So you're gonna have an increased maintenance. Like obviously, right? I think a lot of people don't really think about that as much, but it's true. It's like as you drive body fat higher, like of course you can eat more to maintain that because you're bigger. Um, and I think like putting in some really intentional kind of like holding, in between like those pushes was probably really helpful. Um, and yeah, like I just had my labs done and actually they were like pretty good. I mean, my thyroid still sucks, but that's not news. But they were actually pretty good. And I was like, oh, like, wow, okay. But I also feel like I've just been in a really good spot mentally and emotionally lately, which has also
Hmm.
been a whole thing, over the last couple years.
Yeah, you're
Like
not
I
as
was
angry as you used to be. I'm
I
just
am.
kidding.
I just keep it bottled up more. No, I yeah, I mean, I've been reflecting on that a lot too, and it's like I don't know. It just I feel like I think one of the best things that I could have done though was really just like 2 years ago say to Dom like, hey, this is what I want to do. Just like you take the wheel. And like
Yeah.
there really just hasn't been a lot of stress on my end about what if this doesn't work or like I what are we doing next? It's just like I've been so happy to just be led. And I'm like, yeah, whatever you think. Like
I think that's
and
very important though. Like that's a conversation I have with clients quite frequently. Sometimes people are so attached to the timeline. There's so much urgency around, I need to see these changes the next 4 weeks. Like, oh fuck, we didn't lose this week. And now this isn't to like, I don't want that to sound like demeaning or anything of the sort, but it's such a, there's so much like urgency around it, or like if we're gonna enter fat loss, and all we'll always lay out like a projected timeline, but like, okay, with this shift, how fast exactly are we going to lose over the next 4 weeks? And hey, I want to be here by the 20th. Can we do it? And there's sometimes just so much just like, hey, we can just like chill, relax. Like all we have to worry about is following the process. And oftentimes, like when you're holding on just like so tightly, or there's like so much urgency around, I need to lose, or fear of like, what if I can't lose, which is typically where that comes from. It's typically when people don't take the time to actually set themselves up well for success in the first place, and then it doesn't go well.
the thing is like the body's gonna do what the body's gonna do. And I think back to like that gut health phase and like had I not had to do that, I could have been on stage maybe last summer,
Hmm.
you know? But like that definitely set a timeline back. But I didn't have a timeline. Like I didn't care. I just like I wanted a result. And
Yeah,
I think it's really rare that clients come to us. That's not true. That's not true. I was gonna say, like, I think it's rare for people to just be like, hey, this is my grand vision and like take the wheel. I don't care how long it takes. You know,
I'm
they
impressed with how often I feel like actually these days I get someone who's like,
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I can already like name a handful.
mhm,
But I do think that's more of a rarity.
yeah,
You know, for the most part, a lot of people are like, you know, and I also, like you, am not trying to disparage this or like demean anything because hey, like we all want to look good for the summer trip. You know, I get it. I totally get it. Or like your wedding or whatever. Like, hey, I want to look my best for that. I mean, sure, I totally get it. But, you know, it is really cool when you can just be like, hey, this is my vision and I trust you to get me there. And like, I just remember always saying when people ask me, like, well, when are you going to compete? I'm like, whenever my coach thinks I'm ready. And that also gives me a lot of confidence, you know, because I'm just like, Dom Kuza says I'm ready to prep. So like he's Dom Kuza, I believe him. And you know, when Dom's like, dude, I think you're gonna look freaky, I'm like, yes, like that's what I want, you know? So it like that also does instill a confidence too, you know, versus me just like going back to him every single week, like when can I prep? When can I prep?
I love that. Those are honestly all such good takeaways, and I truly, when someone can just buy into coaching like that, it's such a beautiful thing. They always do well. It might not be, hey, we get there in 3 months, which I don't think any of us would say you're gonna get there in 3 months. But so often when there's like this, like so much fear, it's also oftentimes like this person is so afraid to let go of what they've been doing in the past that's been holding them back. But and then we don't get the outcome we want because we're kind of like partially following the plan, partially not, and probably a whole different conversation. But I think those are really, really good takeaways. And it's being willing to set yourself up for fat loss with plenty of time away from it. Now, getting into your current phase, nutritionally, what's your setup like here? Talk us through just like big picture, anything you're using like calorie cycling, refeeds, just talk us through it.
So this is I'm currently living like week 3. So I'm 2.5 weeks in. So for the first 2 weeks, he just dropped my calories. So I will say, like going into prep, I was I was doing like 5 days of like, I guess we're gonna get into cardio in a second, so I'll get into that in a little bit. So nutritionally, starting out 2 weeks ago, he made a pretty big pull. Like I was eating around like 25, 2600, twenty six
Mhm.
hundred, I think by the end. And he pulled like 100 grams of carbs and 5 grams of fat. Um, and I honestly like didn't think it was that big of a pull because that's
So you're
like
like 2200 now?
I started at
2150?
like 2135.
Okay.
Um, so protein was like at 165, so pretty high, to my body weight because I think I started prep around like officially like 154 pounds
Okay.
or something.
Okay.
So, and he had raised my protein actually leading into prep. So that was like kind of another, I think, primer that he was putting in place there. So yeah, protein was like 165 and like carbs dropped. I was eating like 345, something like that, 345, and they dropped to 245. And then
Okay.
fat dropped from 60 to 55.
Not bad
And
at
so
all.
I felt it like immediately. I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm hungry. But it was very manageable. And honestly, like I was dropping really fast. I was like I expected to drop because we know that I'm just gonna lose some water weight right off the bat, so that wasn't
Yeah.
surprising, but like it just kept going and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like that's fine. Um, and so I held there for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And just this week, I got my check-in Monday morning when I woke up. He's like, all right, now we're moving to calorie cycling. So he's made another pull. So I have low days and I have high days. And so I was sustaining those first 2 weeks around 2135 calories. And so my low days are now like 1935.
Okay.
And then he put in a high day, and that's at like back at like 2600. And
Nice. Not
so
bad.
yeah, but the kicker is I have to do 4 consecutive low days. So it's
Hmm.
gonna work out at least right now because this is the game, right? This is
Yeah.
what's gonna start undulating and like play. We're gonna start playing with it as things progress. But so that works out to like one high day per week. So he said, I want, or actually, or two, depending on like the cycle.
Yeah.
So when I woke up Monday and I had this check in, he was like, so I want you to take today, Monday, as a high day. And then I want you to hit 4 low days and then hit the high day. And so I'll have a high day on Saturday this week.
Okay.
And then I'll
Okay.
also check in on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I imagine he's not going to change it after 1 week. But
No.
but Dom works in mysterious ways. So
Truly. Okay. Now, from an adherence perspective, how are you thinking of this over the next few months? Is it like I'm just aiming to like be 90% adherent? I don't actually think I need to ask this question, but I think it's helpful. How are you
so
going to approach that?
remember the podcast we did like maybe last week or 2 weeks ago or something? And I was like, you have to like gamify it, like make it fun. It's
Hmm.
like I'm like, no, like I'm gonna be 100%. And it's not, I don't say that as in like I'm going to be quote perfect. Like that's not what I mean. But like I'm just gonna do the thing because it feels like my Super Bowl. Like I've been ready for this for so long. Like I've been working for this for like 2 years plus if you count like all the time that I've spent managing my own nutrition and whatever. It's
Right.
like my Super Bowl. Like this is my time to shine. Like I can do this.
Yeah.
So I'm here for it. Like I understood the terms of the agreement when I said I wanted to compete. And these are the terms of the agreement. At least for me, because I want to bring my best. I think the worst feeling in the world would be stepping on stage like, I wonder if I had actually adhered better. Like, what a horrible feeling that must be.
Oh, yeah. I agree. That's really how I like to approach like my photo shoot reps, things like that as well. I got a question about this actually a while back when I was talking about my fat loss, like how I was approaching my fat loss, and we were doing all the like basically no fat
Yeah.
the like 14 cardio sessions a week, things like that. Somebody asked like, but is that sustainable? Should that just be like the standard for everyone now because you're doing that? It's like, no, it depends on, it's not like, this isn't something that either of us are doing or anyone should be doing because it's like, it just makes us better than everyone else, or like you suck
Yeah,
if you
I'm
don't do
also
this. It's
like,
just about the outcome that we personally want. It's for fun.
I'm not doing this for anyone other than myself.
Correct. And that's,
I
I
do
think, very important.
enjoy leading by example, I will say,
Yeah. Yeah.
and walking the walk. Like I believe in all of those things, but like you're at the end of the day, like for those listening, you're the one that has to go to bed at night and wake up the next morning. Like, are you going to bed proud? Are you waking up proud? Like, so yeah, maybe you're not prepping for a show or a photo shoot or anything like that, but like you've got to live with that, not me. And I know me personally, I want to go to bed tonight proud. And I want to like step on that stage. And the thing about this is like stepping on stage and having your physique judged by a bunch of total strangers. Um, they're going to have feedback and they're not there to like gas you up either. They're there to like give you feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm prepared to accept that because I know that I will go into that having done everything that I could do.
Yeah.
But like how shitty would it feel to get that feedback and the feedback like I like first of all I know that Dom's not going to let me step on stage like not conditioned and like peeled to the bone. I know that wouldn't happen, but let's say I did and then the judges came back and they're like that ain't it. Like you like your conditioning was terrible. Like then you'd be like gosh, like if I hadn't like taken all those free meals and like cheated on my diet, like then I wonder what the feedback would be, right?
No, that's when I ever have someone go through a photo shoot, I will ask this question, especially like when someone is struggling, I'll ask, okay, so when the photo shoot is over, how do you want to look back on this? Do we want to look back on this as like, I put 6 months into this, but honestly, there are so many instances where I could have done better? Or do we want to look back at this as like, I crushed that. I nailed it. No, like you said, I want to look back on this. Like at the end of the day, when I lay down, I want to be proud. Or you said something along those lines, right? That varies by person. So to bring it back to like, I feel like I do need to answer this question now that I brought it up. We're not gonna like put on you like it's your goal. We'll help you get there, but you decide the goal. Like I think of like clients I have. I reference this my one client a lot where we've worked together since 2018. He has never tracked more than calories and protein. Uh, we were in a fat loss phase just recently. We got down 8 pounds. He was getting lean. We're starting to see outline of the abs, and he's like, "I'm good. Let's call it here. I don't really want to push any further." It's like cool. Like for him, he would probably be less proud at the end of like the flexibility, like meals with his kids, things like that are super important. He'd probably be less proud if it was like he was so focused on whatever that he didn't get to have the meal with his kids or what like it varies by person, and we're not gonna like no, because I do this, you have to do this too. But if you establish the goal and this is what we want, we'll help you get there. But it will oftentimes mean pushing harder than you have in the past. I just think that distinction is really important.
Yeah, there are levels and layers to everything. And like, are you doing right by you? Are you going to be proud? Like, we might not be executing at the same thing. Like, I mean, no one else is like getting ready for a show here, so like there's no one to compare to. But like, are you doing right by you? I mean, I think that's the important thing. Um,
Absolutely.
and especially like our clients who are undertaking things like photo shoots. We do have a few that are interested in potentially getting on stage. That might look different for everyone.
And I do think that's important
What
too, though.
you do in order to like go to bed proud might look different.
Yeah. But it is like if you want to get like, especially if we're pushing below a sustainable level of leanness and you've never done it before, you will have to be a lot more dialed in than you've ever been before as well. Okay. Training wise. What do you think your training will look like during prep? Like any adjustments you're making from your building phase?
So I now have Nick Ridpath like taking over my training. And so we have a very cool like collaboration going with Dom and Nick, which is like really cool. Um, And so I'm kind of interested to see what it's gonna
Mhm.
look like. Right now, it's no different. It is scaled back right now because I'm technically deloading, like because of my shoulder and elbow. It's nothing prep related,
Right.
but also like we know that we need to get me to a really good place because obviously, like as calories get lower and as body fat gets lower, you just have less recovery resources. So
Right.
like those things all need to be firing on all cylinders because we're basically getting ready to dig a very deep hole. And if I'm
Mhm.
already halfway down the well, that's not a lot of runway. So right now the priority is really just like making sure that like execution is there. And it is actually. It's really just a matter of like some angry like tendons and ligaments, like connective tissue, like things like that. But that's honestly already gotten so much better, getting a lot of like body work, some like anti-inflammatories, like things like that. Um, so I imagine I do have like some intensifiers in my programming. I have like some drop sets. I imagine at some point those might go away. I know that intensity is just going to have to be high, and I know that there's probably going to get a point where um, we might do something like pull cardio back, but not training because
Yeah.
training is going to be the priority. Um, and again, like this becomes at a certain point, it really becomes much less about like weight loss and much more about like what the physique looks like. And
Yeah.
so it's important to keep shuttling the like gram of carb I'm going to be on to the muscles. So I imagine, I mean, obviously I'll keep everyone posted because I think it'll be really interesting to see how like things kind of evolve and change. But I also do project that there are going to be some changes with like equipment and some movement selection because as my body changes and I lose body fat, my leverages are going to change. And so like how certain machines like fit my body or feel might change. Um and so I think there's going to be a little bit of that too, which is actually going to be really cool because that's like right up my alley. I love that stuff. So.
So it's very much about like managing the stress applied. As you said, like we're gonna be digging a pretty deep hole. I always say like program design is kind of like mining for mithril. Like you want to dig a deep hole, but not so deep you like awaken an ancient Balrog, you know? So it's like a fun. There's like two people
Exactly.
who are super into Lord of the Rings who understood that reference, and everyone else is like, "What are you talking about?" Um, but basically, it sounds like we're maintaining training intensity. That is key here.
Yeah, so the
Now,
adjustments, like any training adjustment will be done to keep training intensity high. So whether that be pulling back on volume or changing out movements because they don't feel good, therefore I can't push them hard enough, like
yeah.
that will be the reason for the change. But it will be interesting to see like how those things adjust.
And that might even be pulling back intensifiers so we can recover better so that with like the sets we're doing, we can do more intensely.
I'm pretty sure that drop set on Pendulum has got to go at some
That's got to
point.
go ASAP. Okay. From a cardio perspective, what are you up to there?
Yeah, so leading into this, I was doing like for he pulled me back a while ago. Like, cause honestly, I was doing like I think I can't even remember anymore, but like there was a while when I was doing like pretty steady cardio, like I don't know, somewhere 20 to 30 minutes, like 5 times a week. And then at some point he like mid growth phase, he pulled me back to like 15 minutes. And I was like, it was like the greatest gift ever. I was like, I only like, you can like waste 15 minutes scrolling on your phone in the blink of an eye. I'm like, I only have to do 15 minutes. Like, this is so clutch. And then once I started prep, he moved me to 25 minutes. So 5 days per week at 25 minutes. And I hold a heart rate. So I use a heart rate monitor. Um, and I hold that. And I was like, that's not that bad. That's just like 10 minutes more per day. I can do that. And then, so this was the interesting thing. It's like, so that first week, I dropped like my average went down 2 pounds. So
Mhm.
like again, that initial calorie pull was like very effective. So I dropped like 2 pounds that first week, and then going into the second week, he's like, "All right, we're adding 5 minutes of cardio." So I'm currently at 5 times 30 minutes. And of course, not a big deal because it's just five. You're already there for 25 minutes. Not a big deal. But it was interesting. That was very interesting. Um, that he kind of like only after a week was like, let's add 5 minutes.
Why do you think that was?
Um, I don't know. I know he's really happy with how the first 2 weeks went because, like, I don't think I really recapped this, but like my average went my week. So, for our clients, like, we're always looking at your weekly average, right? Like, when we're in fat loss, it's not always just like the day to day kind of thing. And I dropped like my average went down 4 pounds in 2 weeks, and he was really pleased. He's like, that's exactly what I'd hope was going to happen. Um, and so like that after that first week, I was already down 2 pounds, and I don't know if he was just like, I just want to seal the deal and just like get another really big week out of the way. Um, and then at some point, this is going to go up 100%. And
Yeah.
we had our call this morning with Dom, and we were talking about like cardio in general, like for our clients and things like that. And he was like, yeah, well, when your cardio goes up, and it was not like if, it was when. It was like when your cardio goes up, like you're gonna have to split it into 2 sessions. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. So it could end up being something like 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening. I don't think Dom personally likes people to have to do more than like 70 a day.
Hmm.
Um, that was kind of like what we were talking through this morning. Um, and I'm like, I can do that. Now,
Yeah.
because I've like anticipated this and I've set up my schedule accordingly. So it's like I
Yeah.
already do cardio in the morning, so if I have to add at some point in the afternoon, I'm good for that.
So, not again because I think this is something you've considered or would do, but I think it is quite easy to want to, okay, my goal is to lose fat quickly. I'm gonna throw everything I can at it right now. So why not just start with 70 minutes, 7 days a week right now?
Because that's not the plan. Um, I I think the biggest thing is that I understand what I signed up for,
Mhm.
and having not experienced it to the extreme that I'm gonna go, I know for all intents and purposes things are gonna get really, really hard. So it's like I know that the hard is coming. It's not push time yet. This is like the early stages of like a relationship, where like everything's sunshine and rainbows. It's like, oh, you're seeing good progress, like you're still able to pretty much like live your normal day. Like this isn't occupying my entire life or anything like that. And I understand what's coming down the line. So I'm really focused on just like staying present. And also I mean, once again, I trust my coach. So if he wants to titrate cardio up, he will tell me. Like, I hired him for a reason. Like, I trust him to get me there. If he says we're good on 30 minutes right now, we're good on 30 minutes. And like, can we be honest? I also don't want to do more. Like, I'm
Let me,
happy to just do 30 minutes. Like, of course I will. I'll do whatever he tells me to do. Like, if Dom told me to like jump over a cliff, like I would probably go do it. But I'm not in a hurry. I don't know. Again, to my early point, like I'm really just trying to stay present and enjoy the entire process. Like I don't want to be this whole like, what's coming next? What's next? Like when do we get to do this? When do we get to do this? It's like just enjoy it for what it is. And I also know that right now it's like this isn't like a humble brag or anything, but like it's so easy right now. And I know that it won't be. I
yeah.
know that tide will turn. So I just need to like chill and enjoy the fact that like this is not so bad.
I think that mindset though, I just want to be present and enjoy this fat loss or enjoy this phase. It's so helpful though. I feel like I was very much able to do the same thing in like my last fat loss phase, and it just made it fun. It wasn't hard. It wasn't like, oh my God, what if I don't get the result? It went super well, right? But it was just, I think if more people could approach it like that, it would truly help so much. And I mean, to speak to the question as well, right now y'all are losing at a good clip, as we said. Like we don't. There's a point where the hole you dug is too deep from a recovery perspective, and more is not better, more is worse. And right now, like you probably will need to push more cardio, push harder later. We've already kind of like pulled that lever, so to speak. We don't have it to pull later, but also like you're losing at the rate y'all want right now. So there's not a need to. And again, quicker, probably a worse body composition outcome versus better.
And I do think that it's really easy for me to sit here and be like, I'm not in a hurry, and like we'll get there when we get there. But at some point, like I will have to commit to a show because you have to just like make arrangements, right? Like you need to like order your suit and make sure that it fits and like have everything that you need for like show day. So I imagine if you talk to me like 8 weeks out, because I imagine by like 8 weeks we will have like picked a show.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to at some point, even though they have shows every weekend, like you have to commit to something at some point, like again, so you can get your suit. So I imagine then that's when like the heat kind of really comes on and you start to be like, am I going to be ready?
Yeah.
So right now it's like it's so far out that I'm like, of course I'm going to be ready because Dom's going to get me there. But I think the on the tail end of prep, it's like, okay, this is actually like X weeks away at this point. Like, will I be where I need to be by then?
I think that's a really good segue into the question. What do you do when you feel emotionally reactive? So let's say you see your check-in pictures and it's like, oh my God, I don't think I'm ready. Or have I really made any progress? Am I gonna be able to do this? Like, what do you do when you feel that? Other than drink Canada Dry.
Dude, it's over. Uh, so the way that Dom does his check-ins, or at least he has for a while, is like it's the client has to like make a split screen of like the before and after. It's like here was my starting photo, here's my current photo. And he was like, at some point, like, you're not going to do that because, like, I don't need you comparing. I was like, really? Because, like, my before was so ass that, like, that actually might, like, gas me up and, like, put me in a good mood. Um, but I just started doing split screens from, like, week one of prep because those are really cool, actually. Just, like, to
Oh
see,
yeah.
like, even just, like, 2 weeks, I was like, "Ah, this is rad." Um, but at some point, he's just gonna be like, just send me the picture.
Mhm.
And I think it's gonna get to a point where I'm gonna just like send him the picture and like not look at it. Just like kind of like we've said before with our clients, like your job is just to report the data. Like
Mhm.
it's not your job to analyze it. I mean, I know that we all do, especially like we do because we analyze this stuff and we love it and like we want to nerd out over it. But it's not like as a client, it's not your job to analyze the data. It's your job to report it. And it's Dom's job to make adjustments based on what he sees.
It
So I'm
is.
taking that kind of mentality with my check-ins of like just like send it to him. Like just do your part. Like do what he's asking you to do and do it well and just report back what happens. And if he wants to adjust, he will. Um I I haven't had, I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really had many like emotionally natured conversations with Dom. Like,
Mm.
I haven't needed that kind of support from him yet. Yet? I don't know, maybe. Um, but I haven't yet. So it'll be interesting to see. I also am like so lucky because I have you guys and like we like to nerd out over this stuff. So like Andrea and I talk like every single week about our check-ins. Um, and I always like getting you guys' takes on things. And I imagine you guys will be a great source of like, I guess like yeah, having a good support system. Um, I think you guys will
Um,
be really great to lean on there for because I'm positive that at some point I will get in my head about progress where I think I should quote should be. Um, because and then also like some of the deprivation that you experience at some of these levels like do actually alter your brain chemistry so you actually might be a little bit more like emotionally volatile. It's like I'm
yeah.
sitting here like relatively well fed and I can speak very logically about these things, but talk to me in like 10 weeks and might be a completely different podcast.
Oh, hi, hi, hi. But truly, it is very hard to be objective with yourself, and that's. I mean, also. And I would be in the same boat, but you've never gone through a contest prep before. So honestly, you can't really say, well, I should be here at this point. It's a very interesting it's a very interesting thing, even like more objective data. I don't know if you get this. This is a conversation I have with clients quite a lot as well, where like the objective data, a client will say like their interpretation of it will be, my measurements didn't change at all this week, my weight didn't change at all this week. And I'm like, are we looking at the same thing? Because like we're down like a pound and a half on average. We hit all these new lows. Like your measurements are down here, here, here. Like where is this interpretation coming from? But it is funny how much like it's just harder to be objective and logical with yourself, I think. But it is funny how often that comes up where it's like, this is very clearly objectively false. This isn't just like my opinion. The data shows us this. It's an interesting thing. And then it's like, oh, okay, you're right. I didn't see that. But it's funny how often that comes up actually.
I can like totally see myself like objectively making progress, but then telling myself that I haven't and like talking myself out of it and being like, no, it's just the lighting was better in this one. Like I can so hear this because that's me.
I
You
can
know,
see you
like
doing
me being
that
like
too. Yeah.
100%. Like this is the conversation you and I will be having like 10 weeks from now, I promise. Mark my word. Um, so I apologize in advance, but
I have it in
in
my calendar.
general,
You're good.
and then also, of course, like we are in the age of social media, and it's really hard to ignore a lot of the really great physiques out there. And like it's like I also follow a lot of like figure pros. And like the reality, because I admire them and like they have awesome physiques, but the reality is like I do not need to be comparing my physique to a pro. Like those are apples and oranges. But like that's something I have to kind of keep repeating over and over to myself. It's like, Natalie, you are not gonna look like them. They've been at this so much longer. Like they have so much more muscle. And like, like we've talked about in podcast past, like how do you live lean? How do you get leaner? It's like by going through this process multiple times. By like stripping the body fat and then building muscle and then stripping it back and then adding muscle and then like over and over and over. Of course, to a very cartoonish degree at that level. But like they have all of that on me. And so I have no business comparing myself to them, but I still do. Because I admire them and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like it's awesome. And like when I envision myself on stage, like that's what I look like. And like that's insane. Like I'm not gonna look like Sid Gillen, like Miss Figure Olympia 8 times. Like
Like, yeah, like think what were you I mean, I'm sure she was training very specifically for this well over 8 years ago. But even if you think about like what you were doing like 8 years ago, like what were you doing 8 years ago? I don't like you were like a ballerina or something?
out
Or
somewhere stuffing my face and drinking, I'm pretty sure.
okay. You were at Oktoberfest, but it's,
I
like
did, to be honest.
that would not surprise me in the slightest. Okay. To wrap this up, a few final questions here. If someone is chasing their best body ever, but not the stage, what do you think they should borrow from bodybuilding? Kind of what we talked about here.
Um, Everything, but maybe not to the extent.
I like
So, I
that.
mean, the people that have the best physiques in the world, we could probably learn a thing or two from them because they built the best physiques in the world. So, like, hey, success leaves clues. What are they doing that we can implement? Um, there are many roads that lead to Rome, but in general, like they mind their nutrition, they're active, they train really hard, they hire coaches, they pay attention to food
They,
quality. So like everything that they do, you maybe don't need to do it at an 11, but I think we can borrow from like every bucket there.
yeah, no, I think that's very well put. It's not, the principles are again still the same. It is just the degree to which, like, how often, how intensely, how many times do you yell, yeah, buddy, while you're lifting? Is it every 5 minutes or is it every minute? How far do we want to go? Um, any final advice you give your past self before starting a phase like this? Does that make sense? Before starting the transformation phase, I think that's more applicable actually. Like, let's say
Start
you could go back to Natalie when she was starting this whole journey. not your bodybuilding journey, but just getting into like, hey, I want to get more jacked, I want to get leaner. Like, what advice would you give yourself then? Maybe even you, like at the start of our photo shoot prep. I think that'd be cool. Hire a different coach.
I would, again, like, because of the mistakes that I've made, I would tell her that she needed to do the mental work. Because again, my goal here is to like enjoy the day, right? Like the actual show day. So I would tell her like you need to get it together, like mentally and emotionally, and do some work there. Um, and learn to be present through the entire process and then the actual day. I think the best again, I'm so happy. I'm not even at the end of this process, like so far from it. Like I don't consider the end of the process until I'm like reversed after the show. Um, but I'm so happy, like looking back on the last couple of years with how all of this has gone. There were some like really hard moments, like the gut health. I mean, in all honesty, like that gut health phase was like far more restrictive than prep is. Like, because that was like so fear driven, like I do not want to screw this up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, so in a lot of ways, I feel like that was like a mini prep, like practice prep for like mindset. Um, but I'm so glad the way that the last couple years have gone, and I'm so glad that I was so chill about the timeline. I think when you're seeking a transformation, and we talk about this a lot now, I feel like it comes up every podcast where like we now kind of ask our clients like to drop like photos of their goal physique when we onboard them, not because we can ever give you anyone else's results. Like, no, of course not. Your results will only be your own and no one else's.
If
But
you pay us for the premium tier of coaching, actually we can, but
but
it's an
I
upcharge.
I think it's so helpful as a coach to see because I always like when I hop on that first call with a client, I always like to say like, "Hey, in your own words, I would hear from you. Like, what does success look like here? Paint me a picture." And so then when we get the actual visual of like, actually, this is what I want to look like, um, it's so much easier to have a conversation with someone about timeline. Like, hey, cool, that this is what you want. I think this is going to take you longer than 3 months, and that's okay. Like honestly, most of this stuff does and should take longer than 3 months. Um, I just think that's so helpful because I think if more people could just again see that end vision so clearly in their mind and then be like, just get me there.
Yeah.
Just get me there. And like and not be in such a hurry. I know it's a little bit different when we're working towards like a wedding, or something like that. Or like, yeah, you're a coach and you need some marketing photos and you want to do a photo shoot. It might be a little bit different, but like there's so much that goes into the coaching experience, like as coach and athlete, with like learning the client athlete, like learning you as a person, like your communication style, like how are you best coached, but also like learning your body. Like I don't care like how good a coach is, how experienced a coach is. No one can say with certainty how your body's going to respond to something.
Right.
No way. And like it has happened where I've like gotten started with a client. It's like, okay, well that didn't go how I thought it was going to go. All right, let's take a step back here and let's start going down this other road. That happens. And like I said, that happened with me with like gut health. I mean, when I signed on with Dom, he wasn't like right. And then in March, we're going to go through a gut health phase. Um, these things happen. And I think you just have to remain so adaptable and like ready to pivot. And like that doesn't mean you can't have that goal. It just
Hmm.
means maybe not right now. But again, like go to bed proud because like you're doing what you need to do. Like every day you do the things that you need to be doing, you're taking a step towards that goal. And I think that's just like a one foot in front of the other mentality that more people need. But it's like this self perceived like stress around timeline and like also lack of faith. There's a lot of that too. Like I I don't know if I'll ever get there is I understand it because I used to think that way. So I'm not going to invalidate that. That's very real. But that's something to work through too. Because like I, again, I'm not trying to sound like pompous or anything, but like I know I'm going to bring my best. Like I'm not. It is so unproductive for me to sit here and just like wringing my hands. Like, is my body going to respond? It's just like, of course it's going to respond. Of course. Like it's gonna get hard, I know that. That's fine, but like we expect that. Like, of course my body's gonna respond. Of course I'm gonna bring my best package to stage. Like there's no other option. And I think those things are just really important. I think people let doubt really kind of get the most of them. And like, we always say just whatever phase you're in, go all in, because it's all a part of the process to get you to that point where you want to be. And then we always say this as well, but of course, like, and then once you get there, the goalpost is going to move, right? Like once I get on stage, I know I'm going to love it because I've decided that I will, but then it's going to be like, well, I can't wait to do this again, but like 10 times better. It's like that's just the game, you gotta play the game and like do so happily and like put your best foot forward and it's so much more fun when it's not coming from a place from a lacking a place of scarcity.
Couldn't agree more. You are so wise in prep, Natalie. I feel like you're 5 years wiser than you were a couple weeks ago. Honestly, that
Guys,
was really
these are the speeches I give myself every single morning to like hype myself up.
that
No,
was genuinely really good though. I'm kind of stoked right now, and I want to do a bodybuilding prep.
I
Um,
we can get into it some other time, but like I have been like I've been like journaling daily now for like months, really proud of like keeping up with that habit. But like to my earlier point, like I've been like I know how important the mental side of this is, and I've been like nurturing that way before prep started.
I'm really excited. I'm proud of you too, dude. It's been fun to watch you grow so much over the last couple years that I've known you, literally and figuratively, into the wise, mature woman you are now.
Maybe
And
I'll
I
have
am
some
really,
photos to share this time.
what's that?
Maybe I'll actually have some photos to share this time.
That will also be good. I think I just, when you posted on Instagram your photo shoot pictures, I was like, I've never even seen these until now. This is crazy.
Weren't even real though. They were just screenshots of like what the photographer sent me because he deleted them all.
Also, is that is messed up. Yeah, that's also wasn't super impressed with the photographer, the things he told me. But to move on from that, Andrea and I will make sure we get lots of pictures of you at your show. Um, but really excited. It'll be fun to kind of keep everyone updated on your journey as we go along. And I have no doubt you will crush it. Truly, like when I say I know no one will be more prepared. I genuinely know that because I have seen it over the last few years. You and Andrea, I would say, might tie each other for your level of preparedness. And I have no doubt that I wouldn't be nearly as prepared as either of you. So, really, though, I'm excited for it. But I think that's a great place to wrap it up. So, um, I guess any final words before we wrap it up? Any last things you want to throw out there?
Keep everyone posted throughout and like thank you for people that have stuck around this long to listen to this and thank you for anyone that's like honestly ever genuinely shown any kind of support or interest. It's really cool and like Instagram's been really cool that way, and I feel like I have a lot of like friends along with me on this journey, which is fun.
It is one of the cool things about social media and like posting your own journey for especially when you've been doing it for years and years, like the people who have kind of followed along the entire time, like getting to take people on that journey, like it's been so, of course, like it's not, I know you better than most, but like being able to watch that, like on our Slack and in person too, but it's really so fun to be able to like be a part of that or like take people on that also. But if you would like to apply to work with our team, if you would like to coach with Natalie, a few weeks from now, she's going to potentially be taking on more clients. But hit the link in the show notes. Let me know if you would like to work with her specifically. If you don't want to, I don't blame you. I can find someone nicer. I'm just playing, Natalie. You are very nice as well. But that is what we have for you guys for today. If you do want to apply for coaching again, link in the show notes. If you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review, and we will catch you guys next time.